In this video, I'll show you how to use the process of completing the square in order to determine zeros for quadratic functions. Let's take a look at our example. Our example is f of x equals 2x squared plus 8x minus 42. And completing the square does not use a formula. In fact, it's used for deriving the quadratic formula, which we're going to probably do next. So all we have to do is follow the steps, and we'll get there. The first step says to set the function equal to 0. I always like my zeros on the right side, so I'm going to put equal 0 right there. All right, next step, it tells me that if my a value isn't 1, I need to divide everything by a in order to make it 1. Sounds weird, but let's just do it. So my a value is 2, so I now have to divide everything, and by everything I mean each term, by 2. Some people like to draw one line across the entire bottom. I like to make sure I'm dividing each term. All right, so that leaves me with x squared plus 4x minus 21 equals 0. All right, hopefully that all made sense. And we're going to continue on by moving my c to the other side of the equation, because basically this is your first chance at what's called algebraic manipulation. We're just going to move things around to change the form of something so that we can do other steps that we don't know how to do otherwise. All right, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to add 21 to both sides. That's effectively going to get rid of my c term, and then I'm going to make a whole new c term up. So I get x squared plus 4x. There's nothing there. I'm going to leave a blank there. Equals positive 21. Now the next step says that I'm supposed to add c star to both sides and then calculate c star. If you Google this idea of c star, you're not going to find anything. Good old Mr. Sats, he made that up. But it's still good to have a name for something. What if everybody just called you boy or girl or them? That really wouldn't go too well. So its name is c star, and I gave you a formula for calculating c star. And that formula, and now we're going to use it, is c star equals b over 2 squared. And I'm not talking about the b from up here. I'm talking about the b right here. So my b is 4. So I'm going to do 4 divided by 2 and then square it. That gives me 2 squared, which is 4. All right, now I'm going to replace my c stars with that value of 4. All right, so I get x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 21 plus 4. And any time that you see just two numbers next to each other, you can always combine those, and I recommend doing that. In fact, I think it's my next step on my note sheet. So that gives us x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 25. All right. Hopefully all of that makes sense. Let's go on and continue our problem. Okay, now we are up to, I believe, step 6 on my note sheet, which is kind of just magic at this point. So we're going to do some factoring, even though we haven't learned factoring yet. And all you have to do is take the square root of this, bring down this symbol, and take the square root of that. All right, so we take the square root, and we're going to put that in parentheses and square it. So I'm going to take the square root of x squared, that's x. I'm going to bring down that plus sign, and then I'm going to take the square root of 4, which is 2, put that in parentheses, square it, set that equal to 25. You don't know this now, but what we just came from, this right here, is exactly the same thing as what's below it. We haven't learned it yet. We're going to learn that in the next unit, but those are exactly the same. So we're going to keep the 25 the same, but now it's turned it into something that you've learned before, solving square root equations. So we're going to go through our steps for solving square root equations now. Once we have the thing squared by itself, we can square root both sides. Don't forget your plus or minus. So when we square root the left side, the square root and the square cancel, giving us x plus 2 equals. And on the other side, we have plus or minus the square root of 25, which is 5. All right, now all we have to do is get x by itself, generate our two answers, and we're done. Okay, so I'm now going to subtract 2 to get x by itself. And now I get x equals -2 plus or minus 5. Make sure that plus or minus stays with the 5. You don't want to move that plus or minus on the 2. You don't want to forget that the 2 is negative and not positive, even though it was positive over here. Make sure that you're noticing that the signs do change when we do inverse operations. Okay, now that we have our 2, or our plus minus, in the same area, we can go ahead and split up our answer. So this will give us -2 plus 5 and also -2 minus 5. Well, -2 plus 5, that's 3. -2 minus 5 is -7. And then we just want to make Mr. Sats really happy by writing the answer as an ordered pair, because that shows that we understand what we just found. We found the point 3, 0, and the other point, -7, 0.